very interesting hand develops. The under the gun player opens for 30. There's a call in middle position. I look down at 2 9s in the cutoff. Happy to make the call. And the big blind calls as well. So we're off to a flop 4 ways. Flop seems pretty safe for our hand. Flop is 5-3-3 with 2 hearts and 1 diamond. Action checks to the initial raiser, who puts out a small-ish bet. Puts out a bet of 50. Not unreasonably small. It could be wise to use this kind of sizing, I think, to maybe fold out other players' equity, even if you just have ace high. Obviously happy to take down the pot and also balance that out with some bigger pairs. So who knows? Who knows what exactly is going on here, but I make the call and the other players fold. So we go heads up to a turn card. Turn is a queen of diamonds, so it brings a backdoor flush draw. This time the initial raiser puts out a bet of 200. Again, fairly standard, fairly reasonable size. I think it's a little bit too tight to just fold right away, especially considering the fact that we're up against a recreational player. Could easily be using a high card as a bluff card, a scare card. Could easily be using the queen as a scare card. So I think it's a little bit too weak to just give up right away. But I'm probably going to be looking for some excuse to fold on the river. So could go either way. I mean, I think you could probably potentially fold the turn. It just feels a little bit too weak, especially given the action that I had seen from this player beforehand. So I go ahead and make the call. We're off to a river card. Looking for somewhat of a safe river card, but not looking to get too much more involved in this hand. River card is a jack of diamonds, so completes the backdoor flush draw. My opponent has about 700, I think 730 to be exact, $730 left. As I said before, I'm not looking to call it off, trying to just get a feel for the situation, but planning on folding, planning on making a fairly standard fold, I think. So my opponent does in fact go all in, and my initial reaction is to fold fairly quickly. But I then see him actually move all in. I see him move all of his chips, literally all in. And I kind of pick up what seems to be one of the most obvious tells that I've seen in a long time, especially in a 5-10 game. It's hard for me to describe these things without actually being there, without you being able to actually see it. But the way that he moved his chips out, just like stack by stack, it just almost looked like he was surrendering all of his chips, literally, like he was just giving them away. And then on top of that, he kind of sat back and crossed his arms, and I was just kind of watching him do all this. I usually don't put too much weight into tells, and especially I don't put too much weight into them when I'm trying to relate a hand history, because it's so hard. It's so hard to communicate these things, these body language things. But the way that he moved the chips out there, it was the most obvious tell that I had seen in a long time. So I just end up saying to myself, I'm just gonna go with this read, and if it's wrong, it's wrong, but that's okay. I'm just gonna go with it. So after about a minute and a half of thinking and just looking at him and looking at how nervous he looked, I toss in the money. I just tossed in the chips, and we hear some really good news. He says, "You got it." So I hesitate a little bit because I'm thinking, are you sure about this? And again, he taps the table. He says, "You got it." So I hesitate briefly. I know the last aggressor is supposed to show their hand, but I'm always willing to show my hand if the other person, especially when they're a recreational player, says, "You got it." I know a lot of people out there just wait regardless to see get the free information, or the information that you paid for, I should say. But I'm always willing to turn my hand over in these situations when the other player says, "You got it." So I go ahead and turn my hand over. He looks at the 9s. He says, "Yep, you got it." Looks back at his hand and says, "Oh shit," and turns over Queen 7 offsuit. Yes. Huge slow roll. Huge slow roll, and a little bit shocking and annoying, to say the least, on various levels, because A, what the hell is this Queen 7 nonsense, and B, what is this slow roll nonsense? The thing is that this guy truly thought that he had King 7 offsuit and was just lost his mind, was just spazzing the hell out. He legitimately was not trying to slow roll me. The entire table was a little bit baffled at just how long and how obvious but probably unintentional this slow roll was. What can you say? I mean, I'm about 98% positive that he really thought he had King 7 and was just blasting off, spazzing away, legitimately thought that he was bluffing with King High. It just seems a little bit weird for him to be, if he did have Queen 7, to just be piling in money like that on the river. I feel like he possibly would have considered just trying to check it down at that point, but maybe not. It's not 100%, but the way that he seemed slightly embarrassed on multiple levels, I think he kind of felt like he got slightly owned, but also looked incredibly foolish, not even knowing what his hand was. Like I said, it's possible he was just trying to rub it in my face. It's possible he was purposely slow rolling me. I don't really think so. I feel like his body language was pretty transparent, but who knows. So none of it really matters. We lose that pot. I ended up making a call that I thought was a good call, and I still think is a pretty good call based on what I was looking at, but who knows. So we lose that one and we're back in the basement.
There goes a sight from my soul.